We are in week 10. Welcome to week 10. We're going to be talking about a couple of things this week. We're going to be talking about handling exceptions, which are those awful runtime errors that make our program beautiful. And we're going to be looking at TFS. And TFS is a version control system to let us take care of our source code. Some of you may have used GitHub in the past. If you have, it'll be real easy for you to switch to TFS or to get used to both of them so that you have experience with both. I'm going to grab this week 10 PowerPoint about version control systems. We're going to look at it, and then we'll have a TFS activity for everybody to work on to we're going to move around computers a little bit because sometimes TFS can be great to get set up on one computer and then we can have trouble with it when we get home. So we're going to try moving around computers a little bit to make sure that you can get to something that you've saved on another machine. After we've spent some time with TFS, about 10 after 9 or so, we're going to go back to that manatee sighting program we started on last time. So don't run off if you get done with the TFS activity early. Hang around for that lab so we can finish that up together. Okay, let's see if I can get this thing going. TFS stands for Team Foundation Server. And I mentioned Team Foundation Server is a version control system. So we want to keep track of versions of our software. So I have a story. I don't know if it's a funny story. It might be a sad story. But when I worked at Mutual of Omaha, I sat beside a guy. And at Mutual of Omaha, we did program updates and maintenance releases. So kind of like Microsoft, we wouldn't just change the program and put that change in production and have people start seeing the result. They would wait and a whole bunch of changes would go in all at once. It would be a big version. So we would have a big version testing happen for a week or two before all of that stuff went into production. It was a great big deal. So while I was there, the big customer acceptance test and version update that happened. In a week or two later, they had a problem with one of the programs, and it was a program the guy that sits next to me had changed. So they needed to find that source code so that they could change that program again and fix that problem. They couldn't find it. It was lost. It wasn't properly checked in to the version control system for that version. So that guy spent the next 6 or 8 months remaking those same changes. Now they kept him. They figured he was the best person to make those same changes to that source code. Our source code is really, really important. That was actually an asset that belonged to Mutual of Omaha, right? Because they paid that person to change that code, to change that program. So all that source code belongs to the companies that we're working for. So we have to be sure that we're being responsible and taking the right action to make sure that source code is safe, just like we would any other asset of our company. So TFS lets us do that, helps us. It's a Microsoft product. It's a Microsoft Server product. It runs on a Microsoft server, so we could set it up in-house. Now GitHub is a little different because since GitHub is cloud-based, we can't just really bring in our own server and run GitHub and use GitHub to control all our source code in-house. With TFS, we can. And some companies like that. They like that control of being able to make sure all of their source code is kept in-house and not sitting out on the cloud somewhere. Some get nervous. They're getting used to it, but there are still some that don't like it. Now, the information in this presentation, I wanted to make sure and tell you, comes from this Microsoft site. And there's a lot of information out there on Microsoft's documentation site about using TFS, and there's a lot of changes going on with TFS in version control systems. So in a nutshell, version control systems help you track your code over time. As you edit your code, you tell the version control to take a snapshot of it. So it's not like a Google Drive where when you make changes, it's automatically synced to Google. It's not like that. You have to specifically issue commands to make your code get copied to the server.
Like a Microsoft Word.
Exactly, to do something to it. So without version control, and you guys might have done this before, you might keep multiple copies of code on your computer, and then sometimes you can't remember which version is which. You lose a lot of time trying to find the right version. And so with something that gives us version control like this, we can get away from that. We can just have all these multiple versions saved in TFS, and we can go back to whichever version we want. Now, it does some other great things too. Helps you create workflows. So if everybody in our company is all working on the same Visual Studio project and they're all working with TFS, then we can save a lot of time because everybody's working together and we don't have a bunch of different tools to try to coordinate. Like we've already talked about, TFS helps us work with versions. Every version has a description that we can put on TFS to explain why we did this check-in. We fixed a bug, we added some sort of feature, so that's nice to know. And we can let everybody code together. We all want to be happy coding together because TFS is going to say, hey, Joe is already working on this code, this .cs file that you've changed. You guys are going to have to merge your changes somehow. How do you want to do that? And TFS will keep a history so that you can do that together and figure out which version had what features. And you could roll back if you wanted to, if something happened and you needed to go to an earlier version. With TFS and some of the other features that Microsoft is adding, we can even automate some tasks. Like we've talked a little bit about automated testing scripts. We can make those things happen automatically whenever we check in our source code. So we can save a ton of time because we can just test, analyze our code, and do whatever deployment we need to do automatically. Now, I mentioned that Microsoft owns TFS. Guess who owns GitHub? Microsoft, right? That was not too long ago of an acquisition. TFS has always given you the option of a private server, and GitHub is cloud-based. Big difference in syntax. When we're using TFS, we do a check-in to move things to our server and a checkout to pull things from our server. With GitHub, we do the push and the pull. But we think that, and along with our advisory committee, everybody believes that having you guys gain experience in both products is the best for you, because no matter what, you'll know what to do. So let's do something with TFS.
Yeah, that rhymes.
You'll know what to do. It's like, hey, happy. I've got Visual Studio open. Go ahead and open Visual Studio for me. Now, because Microsoft owns GitHub also, there is a transition going on, and Microsoft's moving everything from their TFS local servers to GitHub. So you might see some changes, and things can all of a sudden work a little bit differently. So to make sure you're always connected to the right place, to the right server, whenever you open Visual Studio now, as we start working with source code control and version control, we want to connect to TFS or validate and verify our TFS connection. So we want to use a window called Team Explorer. If you look at your View menu, you should find Team Explorer right there under Solution Explorer. That should give you an idea of that it's an important one. Now you should be able to see my Team Explorer up here on the screen. Notice that I have some stuff, some workspace things that you probably don't because I've connected to different things before. But this is the home screen of Team Explorer. Team Explorer has a little toolbar up here for different places you can go. And you can always click that home button to come back to this window if you've lost it somewhere. Now there are several options on Team Explorer. We'll be looking at the Source Control Explorer, one of our big ones. Now, the first thing we could do when we work with Team Explorer is connect to a repository, a version control system. So there's lots of ways we can do that, but I'm going to use this green connection, manage connections icon. I could also do the same thing under the Team menu, manage connections. So either way, let's go to Manage Connections. And under Manage Connections, we want to choose Connect to a Project. Now, I'm going to give you some quick reference instructions for this here in a few minutes, so don't worry, we'll have something to refer to. Now, there's a couple of different areas of this login screen for connecting to a project. Up here at the top is talking about like your Office 365 account. You don't have to add an account up there, right? If you do, you could just use your OTC account. Did it autofill it for you? Depending on whether you're logged in or not, it might. So we're more worried about this area down here where there's a TFS server. Let me delete this one that I have. Okay, so I want to click Add TFS Server. And the TFS Server URL is this here. If you can read my writing, let me get it in so you can see it in Zoom. We want to go to CIS150.otc.edu. And then to be safe in my specification, I'm going to do :447/TFS. Now, once you have this added to your computer, you don't need to add it again. So it can be a harder kind of thing to remember. So I'll have it on the board and I'll have it in that document for you, but I'm going to click Add. Now, when we're here on campus at OTC, it'll automatically log on to the TFS server because we're already logged on to the domain. But if you're at home or on your laptop, it won't. And it's going to pop up with the login screen. Whenever you log in on that screen, make sure you do OTC / first before your username so that it will log you on to OTC. Yes, sir?
It didn't work.
Didn't work. What did it do?
It gave me this error message. Server was not added. It's hit on my laptop. I'm gonna try that here.
Yours gave the same name.
Same thing.
That can't be good.
Well, let's try some other stuff. I'm going to get rid of the :447. I hope it liked that better. Do you see something?
Yep.
Okay. We should get that :447. Connecting. I see many of you. That's you then. We're going to come back and use this classroom computer. Okay, so you're seeing your username. You want to click right under your username. You should see CIS150. You want to click that and click Connect. So let me find mine. It's way buried down in here. And then once you've connected to that TFS folder or repository, that's where Visual Studio is going to save any code that you say you want to check in or check out or do anything with source control for this session. So if you notice, I'm clicking on the $/CIS150. That's where I can connect. Did everybody get connected? Good job. Now, that's connecting us to the server, the TFS server. That's your folder on the server. If you want to work on code, you need a folder on your local machine to be working on, right? And then once you're done with changes, you're going to copy those changes up to the server. Right here, configure workspace option is the folder to be used on your local machine. If you notice, it's on the C drive and it's in the users folder. And that's okay, because we want the local workstation to use a disk drive that's the fastest. So like at home, I have mine on my D drive because it's my SATA drive, and my C drive is my, other one that I don't want to fill up. But other than that, I wouldn't change it too much. Make sure it's a local hard drive that's not something that's across a network. Now, if you use a flash drive and you plug the same flash drive into your school computer and your home computer, and you make that workspace be the same in both places, you can get TFS very, very confused, okay? Because you're saying that you've made this update on this computer here at school that you've checked in, and then when you get home, you should need to pull that update from TFS, but TFS already sees it in the local workspace, so it can get very, very confused. So I would keep flash drives out of the TFS equation and just copy folders to your flash drive if you want to as your backup. So TFS will be a good backup for you. So for our local workspace, this looks good to me. I'm going to leave it on my C drive. It's in my users folder. So I'm going to click map and get. That means that I'm going to use that local workspace as my TFS folder when I'm connected to this computer, and it's going to get all of the projects out of that TFS workspace that I had on the server. You shouldn't get any projects. Let's go to the Source Control Explorer now. The Source Control Explorer will let you see your TFS folders, and with mine, you can see the top level folder is our CIS team server, and then underneath that, you guys should just have your CIS150 folder. As you add projects and things to TFS, you'll be able to see them here in Source Control Explorer, and you'll use this screen to move things around. So let's create a project. So our first step was to get connected to TFS. We're connected to TFS now. So let's create a new project. When we create a new project, there's an option to add to source control. We can add it later if we don't choose this option. But let's go ahead and choose that option for this new project. I'd like to make it just a hello world. So let's make it Hello World TFS. And check this box, add to source control. Now, because I checked that box telling it to add to source control, the source control dialog pops up and asks me where I want to add it. Well, you could make new folders if you wanted to within your CIS150 folder, which is really considered a giant team project, or you could just put all your projects straight into that folder. Now, if you decide to make new folders, be aware that TFS can be kind of unusual in the way it behaves with that. If I sat here right now and made 3 folders, it wouldn't keep them. It would only keep the folder I actually saved something into. So you really can only make folders as you're going to use them. But I'd like to, so I think I'll make a new folder, and I'll just call this class work. And then I'm going to make sure that that's selected and click OK. My Hello World TFS project is going to go into that classwork folder. Now I'm looking at Team Explorer at my tabs over here, so I'm going to click on Solution Explorer, and now I can see my Hello World TFS project. I want to just put one line of code in there. What's it doing? Oh, it saved it for you, huh? Must have picked one of those new project types that's like, well, I won't let you know. Save it for you. That's okay, as long as you've got the code in there. What's yours do? Nothing like that? All right, so I have this little project. I wanted to add it to source control, so I checked that box when I created it, but I'm not seeing the icons here in Solution Explorer to tell me that it was in source control. It looks like it is. It's all happy. So what I can do now is check in my solution, and I want to look at my Team Explorer and my Source Control Explorer first and make sure that my project, let's check our classwork folder. I see my project, my Hello World TFS project in the folder. So everything looks good. It's been checked in, or it's been set up in TFS. Now in my Solution Explorer, I'm going to right click and choose Check In to make sure that all of my changes that I made to my beautiful Hello World program have been checked in. I'm going to add a comment, initial Hello World program, and then click Check In. Now, if you go back to your Solution Explorer, you should see these little lock icons showing you that all that source code has been checked in. We have a few problems. Now try going to your Source Control Explorer and seeing if you can find your project.
There it is. Yeah, I checked it. We usually get doesn't know. Well, Kirsten's not ready to say. We have to change something quick. Let me check it. How can I get better? Push it all. Right click here. She's on the sheet. We're trying to see what's out, I guess. For the other class, they're not options.
How's it doing? Are you being able to check in? Got a person or two with problems? Cool, that's normal. Did it do it?
Well, under change, it says add Does that mean it worked?
I think it worked. Now, a way to check is if you go to your Source Control Explorer in Team Explorer. So I'll go to Team Explorer, go to the home screen, go to my Source Control Explorer, and check that folder and make sure that it looks like it has all of my information in it. Now, when I'm using this Source Control Explorer, there are some things that I can't do. You know, I mean, it's not a be-all, end-all, but it lets us have somewhat of a visual as to what's going on. And we can use the Source Control Explorer for other things, like moving projects around. But we could use something a little better. So there is something a little better, and it's the web portal. When you're looking at this home screen, find this link here to the Team Foundation server. Do you see it? So it's our same CIS team URL, but this is a link to your TFS repository on that web portal. Now, when you're looking at the web portal, if you click on code, you can see all of your different projects and folders. And the web portal lets you do a little bit more with your projects, with your folders and files, as far as deleting things or rearranging them.
Is this how you would then pull it onto your computer at home through the web portal?
You could, but no. We'll do that in a minute. So what you would do to get it on your computer at home, when you get home, you're going to open Visual Studio and connect to TFS the same way we did. You're going to have to enter OTC / before your username to log in because you're not on the OTC domain, but everything else should be the same. Once you've done that, you'll be able to go to Source Control Explorer and see all of the projects that are on TFS. And then in Source Control Explorer, notice how my classwork folder is grayed out, but the stuff under it is bright. The stuff under it that's fully bright is stuff that's in sync on my workspace, my local machine with the server. This classwork folder is grayed out because I don't have the latest version of everything in that folder on this machine. So I could click on that folder and I can choose Get Latest Version. And that'll copy everything from TFS down. Now, I want you to have a chance to practice that, though, because it can be pretty hard on people when they're at home trying to get to things for the first time. So let's do some practicing. If you would go to Canvas, in our Week 10 assignment, find the assignment TFS Treasure Hunt. This is going to be your assignment for the week. So in the end, you'll find the assignment that needs to be in TFS turned in. Remember, this is going to replace what would have been your hypergrade assignment. So let's see if we can do it. You see if the pirate was able to give you good instructions or not. Let's click at the beginning of the TFS Treasure Hunt. Now, how I'd like to do this is with partners, because I want you to be able to move computers. We do have a couple people gone today, so we have some open computers, but I didn't want somebody needing to go to a computer when it was full, if that makes any sense. So I want you to work with the person beside you. Let's see, do you want to go back and sit with Isaac, or do you want Isaac to come up here? It's really fun. Okay, we'll go back there. Let's see, what about Joey? Joey, you got it. Joey, you work with these two guys too, I guess. These two. And we'll just switch computers so you can just switch to the next one. Okay, so because this is a treasure hunt, you have to follow the clues and try to figure out what's going on your own. There might be times where you have to rack your brain a little bit to try to figure out what's going on. TFS quick reference right here will show you all of the server name. Remember, we had to get rid of the :447 here on campus. You might have to use it at home. We're going to leave it there in the document just in case until we know if it's get riddable in both places. All right, so this website is going to take you through level 1 of your treasure hunt. You're going to create a project and create some code and check it into TFS. You're going to come show me, you're going to raise your hand so that I can see it and make sure it all went right. Then you're going to go on to level 2, which is going to be go to a different computer and try to pull up that same code so that you can see what it'll be like when you're at home. Okay, so let me know if you have any major problems. We're going to try to only work with issues that have to be taken care of because I want you to try to figure it out on your own. Let's get yours set up because you are not. All right. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. We will work on this until about 9:10. Mm-hmm. So create that code on your computer. Randy, see if it'll let you access that.
That's encoded. I'll have to code it first. Let's do that. Yep. Yeah. Just make sure. Why am I getting you open it, I can put it in the file right there. What's it this? I'm not sure. Since you're adding sites to array, but I don't know what kind of sites. Website, construction site, project site. So. This adds them in. How many things did I create? An array to say web URLs.
Not the best for web, but that's all. Just make sure to switch computers, guys.
Oh. I already checked it.
Check them. Now we just go through how it's all different computer. Connect to the server.
One item, are you sure?
There's something that says check out Reddit.
You can check into the whole solution. Yeah, but I don't want to. Okay. Oh,
Try to take you on the right platform.
I was wondering if you should need the check out Reddit or something. What was it?
Oh, yeah, there was like something. Like you could check out. There was a.
And check in since you have stuff that needs to be checked in.
No, I'm not reading what you said. Yeah, mine's submitted. Yeah, that's your, yeah.
Okay, so that's your problem then.
Now what? You do that. So this year.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, this is like just completely.
Oh, no, that's why we're practicing like that. So don't, you just try whatever you want. We're practicing today, so you can fiddle with it.
So it's safe to a local server, right?
That's weird. When we check it in, it saves it to Microsoft Server. And then that's how we're able. It's kind of like it's like it's actually on a physical server. It's not just in the cloud. It's just storage.
And they're going to your laptop.
So people are
Make sure you don't get the same thing.
I'm not sure. We said it.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
We didn't have a phone. Okay, I gotta go to your
I got used to
Make somebody else take a picture of it, see where that takes you. Like if it's at least just take it to the folders, that's a good sign.
I can't connect to a project.
Now you might want to remove that.
Hey, don't do that. Make sure you switch computers so that you're.
You can use your
You are good to see where the next site is before you switch.
Go right on and don't forget to drink it. Oh, wait. Now, so I'm gonna do this in hopes. I'm gonna get better.
Here's the next level. We're trying to change the
Yeah, I almost did the same thing.
You guys did trade computers. And it's like, oh, wait, you did. Good job.
Question. You help them first.
Oh, you're fine. I was just checking on them.
I'm trying to get logged into my computer and it's saying I'm not authorized to be.
Did you do your OTC backslash?
Yeah.
Username, and it pops up with that login screen.
Yeah.
Make sure you put in OTC backslash. So good read through your credentials up there.
Okay.
So we're going to do the same last time I looked something right next time I showed how far I am now. Last time I actually
There.
That logged on to the Office 365.
Okay.
We want to use this one. So then put up your
scan mark there.
So let's do it.
How do I pull it?
Are you sure?
Is it already?
Trying to find that
You know what? It's on the board there.
you have
I would like add it to your methods.
on your computer.
Yes.
Like, you know, you go that your name is there on this.
So hard to
I
make
have it.
and there's so many times I wanted
But,
to
so I need to
Just
say
that.
quickly.
send a video.
I don't need to say it quickly now. I'm sorry to see.
You want to see a lot of these tapes, but I don't think they watch.
I did was not added over my.
Like, the legal pages.
Oh, it's because you're on the OTC wireless. Yeah, do you have a hotspot? So where we can make sure that that's what the problem is, so I can send them a green email?
Yeah, so let's go. No issue.
Yes, it should, and you would like it to work here with no issue also, but I don't know why you guys wireless won't let you do anything. I have a hotspot if you are going to go out to data hub, if you don't mind. Yeah, or just use your phone. Get the URL that it tries to take you to, that it takes you to, that's really all you need. Yeah. Camera should be actually. To ask somebody if he's Android. He's got Android 50%. Because on my phone, I didn't have to. I thought that Android actually won. Oh, you got read code? Read code is what he's got.
No, I have a QR code reader. It's literally just called that, but it says read code. And then it'll give you this.
That URL that's what you're looking for.
The one I use is just called QR code reader. It's really part of this.
Well, not having for the iPhone, but then you did it to where the camera would just do it, so.
When I had this able to read that, custom color one seems to be really light. So that's a big difference. It's sort of this way to make it
Fancy. Okay, maybe you guys can see stuff.
No.
If it can work, it's good. Yeah, you might have to switch to this two different computers.
I was going to do that. This is taking way too long.
So that's how it works. You're gonna, whenever you're on your different computers, go to that URL.
Yeah, I'm getting the same thing. So.
Same thing still. Yeah, try that.
What file?
Yes, and it should work fine at home. I don't know why the wireless is running.
What did you do?
I just think it's ready to so good cancel. Cancel there. Oh, it's not mine too. Oh, that's okay. It only shows it to you in like 75 different places. I would like to confuse you. You're going to go at your 15 different spots. And they're all like, oh, it's really a lot simpler here. No, it's more simple here. Come over here and do it. Just go to that site that it took you to 150 info L2, so you can just make it info L2 up there. So just make it info L2. Make you guys use some hacking skills here that you don't have. Make you hackers. Hacker. Get some hacking going on. Is it crappy?
I'm
Did I give you bugs? Did I give you bugs?
So this was this program right here. Oh, right. That's true. Yeah, we have to be there.
That's the part that I didn't tell you about. System.threading.tasks. I'm going to double check. That just doesn't sound right. System.diagnostics.
All right. The site to this is like. Yeah. Yeah. Like closer to this place, just stop.
So yeah,
the site to this place. Where is it? So we just check it.
Oh, I should just declare it as an integer wherever you want. I wouldn't declare it there because then it's only going to be there. So like right out of that comment.
You just look to next place.
It should just be registered. Yeah.
So it says,
Important that you know that doesn't say what we call.
Make sure.
we're supposed to make a website. Yes.
Where do I?
Yeah.
Now it doesn't like that.
And when we get your station, and in there you can see it. Either there,
So we unzip it.
you are there. Okay, so you guys are going to switch computers. So you're going to use this QR code to give you the URL of your house.
Makes I just don't want to. Doesn't show it. It shows but they don't.
Same thing, world.
Yeah, it is. But we don't have it because our Git is not linked. Because we just download it.
That's why I recommend this.
I don't think we should write one down because Git,
Everything.
or maybe we just download it. We don't have to do it. Git it and we just wait. Right?
Yeah, I just need to run it. Get ready for it. I can check if any changes.
So we open the section.
Towards I don't know. You're asking me a question I don't understand.
Why?
So, let me test this. So what I did was because it's created a yeah, just make it site yes.
Yep. This thing right here. That's trash.
Yeah, I want to make sure. You're on it. You know what to do. Good job.
So we kind of figured it out. I think.
So if you make the size display display this. Those are your instructions.
So do 150, do the 5. Do like 10 and 5. Just you're so sorry. It's do the 5. Yeah. Like our spouse. But I don't know why yours. It's not by why yours isn't. There's anything different in that process.
Yeah, I got 3 A's.
Look at your logos. You can see what our logos are.
Trigonometry.
So we've got
Trigonometry. That's the process here. How do you the process without using layer?
You can remove that. It's just
there's anything see that because I was really concerned about using that statement here on the network. I thought we were going to have a security problem. So I'm just glad it won't work at all. Put in that URL.
All right, now it should be able to run.
Yeah. Yes, I have our instructions now.
CIS.
You want me to put like
What things did you have?
Here are your instructions. Okay, and see.